One more night in Chicago for us, and what a way to end it. It was mayhem in the Impact Zone. Welcome to Ringside. I'm Tom Hannifan alongside the Drama King, Matthew Rehwoldt. The fans here inside Cicero Stadium were filing out after what just went down a hellish scene once again between PCO and Steve Macklin, the Impact World Champion. We're going to get to more on that in a moment in regards to what's going down at Under Siege. And speaking of Under Siege, the knockouts are all over what's going down tomorrow night in London, Ontario, Canada. This evening, we got to hear from Trinity, who will battle Giselle Shaw tomorrow night at Under Siege, and Trinity's first live match in Impact Wrestling. And also tomorrow night, the Knockouts World Championship will be on the line. Purrazzo defends against Grace. If Grace can't dethrone the Virtuosa, then the Juggernaut will not be able to challenge for the Knockouts World title so long as Purrazzo is champion. We heard from Purrazzo and Trinity. We saw Grace in action defeating Alicia very, very quickly. This just feels like a powder keg between these three in particular. I'm not trying to rule out Giselle Shaw, but you know the trio I'm talking about.
No, absolutely, and it's kind of ironic that part of that trio is Trinity herself, who made a huge debut here and has had everybody talking, including the Knockouts World Champion and her current challenger, Jordynne Grace. And meanwhile, Grace, I don't know how. We saw her deal with the pressure of getting ready for a bodybuilding competition while still actively wrestling. So if there's anybody who can deal with this added pressure of the stipulation now added to that Under Siege match, I think it's Jordynne Grace. But still, if she can't get it done, which she's had a hard time doing against Deonna Purrazzo in one-on-one action in the past, could be a while before she gets another Knockouts World title opportunity.
And all the while, Alicia sticking her nose where it doesn't belong with Purrazzo, with Jordynne Grace, just making things even worse between Purrazzo and Grace, who've been on the record that they respect each other. They are friends outside of the ring, but it seems like as we get closer and closer to what's going down tomorrow night at Under Siege, that might be out the window. What do you think?
I mean, everything's out the window once that bell rings. There's an old adage in wrestling, you apologize before you go through the curtain. You say, even to your best friends, I'm sorry for what I'm about to do to you out there. You shake hands, you hug, whatever it is, however your relationship is. And then the minute that bell rings, you do what you got to do to come out the victor, especially when there's gold on the line.
A star-studded night tomorrow night at Under Siege in London, Ontario, Canada for the Knockouts. They're all over the event tomorrow evening. And before we depart from the Knockouts, I do want to talk about Courtney Rush. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't see any of that coming. I mean, we saw something similar happen with Havoc, and out came Jessica from the Undead Realm. And now Rosemary disappeared weeks ago, and out comes Courtney Rush, a whole new manifestation. Or so, again, I'm still trying to wrap my head. I'm hoping we're going to get some more answers, but the Death Dolls have evolved.
Impact Wrestling fans have seen Rosemary for the better part of a decade, and out comes from the Undead Realm, Courtney Rush. We still have really not fully processed this. We do know that tomorrow night on the countdown to Under Siege, Courtney Rush and Jessica will battle the Knockouts World Tag Team Champions, the Coven, in a non-title matchup. I'm very curious to see what happens there. When we come back here on the Impact Post Show, we're going to dive into the situation regarding the Impact World Champion Steve Macklin and PCO, as we touched on it. Also, what's going on with Nick Aldis and Kenny King for their clash at Under Siege.
Fight back, then attack. Never let your guard down. May 26th on Fight, the assault continues mercilessly and with extreme malice. This world is not for the weak. This world is meant for those who were born to conquer. Impact Wrestling presents Under Siege, live tomorrow night on Impact Plus and Fight.
Welcome back to the Impact Post Show. In a moment, we're going to touch on everything that went down with the Impact World Champion Steve Macklin and PCO as we went off the air. But speaking of the Impact World title, the former Impact World Champion Nick Aldis joined us on commentary this evening for a tag team match between Kenny King and Sheldon Jean and Decay. Ultimately, Kenny King did get the pinfall victory for his team. Just seemed like a lot of that matchup, Kenny King was letting Sheldon Jean do his dirty work. What do you think?
I mean, he was just trying to keep himself, primed and ready for Nick Aldis. It's a first-time ever matchup. He wants to make sure he is in KING ready condition for the national treasure.
I get that, but at the same time, Nick Aldis made a very good point on commentary. In the past, here in Impact, Kenny King has run with Honor No More, the Beatdown Clan, notably, and now he's got Sheldon Jean. He's trying to mix things up with him. I don't necessarily approve of everything that Sheldon Jean's all about after what we learned he did on Big Brother Canada in 2020. He's kind of a manipulative dude, but at the same time, it seems like Kenny King is trying to take advantage of somebody else just to put in the way between him and Aldis.
Great leaders know how to delegate. You know what? If you're smart enough and conniving enough, if you will, fine, to get someone else to do your work for me. You know, I do most of your job for you
good Lord.
most weeks. You know what I mean? By making this all entertaining. No, but Kenny King, again, you're going to call me crazy. He's playing it smart. He's playing it wise. And I think he's ready for Nick Aldis.
Yeah, we'll see what goes down tomorrow night at Under Siege. Aldis versus King for the first time ever. Now, we do want to talk about what happened with the Impact World Champion Steve Maclin. He thought last week that he'd flat out killed PCO. That's something many people have tried to do.
We were all unsure
for years, and that left a lot of speculation. The status of PCO going into Under Siege, the Impact World Championship match, and a no disqualifications bout on top of that. So coming into this evening, Steve Maclin was claiming he was going to name a replacement for PCO to challenge him for the Impact World title at Under Siege. And Maclin comes out and he names Champagne Singh as, quote, the most deserving person for a title shot?
Hey, baby.
Give me a break.
Nobody tell me pay to play isn't alive and well. I mean, hey, by hook or by crook, Champagne Singh sidled up to the champion. He wanted to forge that relationship, man. And it paid off, for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, about 5 minutes.
When he thought he was number one contender.
Yeah, and Singh pulled out the list of Singh, and we saw all
Which
the million
we
people
barely
he was
got through.
thank.
I would have liked to hear who else was on there. I bet I was on the list.
Give me a break. Scott D'Amore came out and obviously told us that that match is not happening, and at Under Siege, it will still be PCO versus Steve Maclin for the Impact World Championship. PCO emerged from out of nowhere, destroyed Singh and Shira. Maclin retreating again, and in the end, it was PCO holding that Impact World Championship. PCO has been a world champion in the past. Could you imagine if Perfect Creation 1 reigns as our world champion?
That was such a weird sight, because in this whole lead up, everything surrounding this, we've never actually seen PCO physically hold the championship. He's never been that close to it. So it was just such a strange, surreal sight to see Perfect Creation 1, this Frankenstein monster, raising the Impact World Championship gold above his head, and it was an eerie, maybe foreshadowing for Under Siege.
I guarantee you tomorrow night will be surreal and it will be brutal. In a no disqualifications match, it's Maclin versus PCO for the Impact World title, live on Impact Plus, Fight TV, and YouTube for our Ultimate Insiders in London, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you can make it from Chicago to London, Ontario, like David Penzer has said, it's only a brief 6.5 hour drive to another freaking
border.
country.
Yeah. Bring your passport.
So join us if you will. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Impact Post Show.